Okay. Okay, we talked about the previous episodes from last week. We talk about the we recap the conference championship, NFL conference championship games. We talk about LeBron's potential last games in their different venues. Also, Bill Belichick got snubbed from the first ballot NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame. Um, the coaching cycles adding from last week, and Giannis's trade rumors. So we talked about that in the previous episode. But this week, let's see what's coming up on JDB's morning cap. I would say happy first day of Monday of 2026 of the February. Today is February 2nd, 2026. This is JDB's workout. Yesterday, it's official. It is officially Black History Month. So, we do this all February long. So I know I'm excited about this. Like I said, this month is officially Black History Month. Yesterday is officially a Black History Month. So we'll do this all February long in this one. All right, so let's get this show started. How about this? As we're approaching Super Bowl, this week is a Super Bowl week. NFL Awards is 3 days shy. Who gets the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player. The list goes on. And who will be your 2026 Pro Football Hall of Fame, and who will be your 2025-26 Walter Payton Awards. So, the list goes on. But I'm not just excited about the Super Bowl this week. I want to talk about the first 59 Super Bowls. Yeah, so I can count the number of Super Bowl matchups ups in that one. Super Bowl one. This first Super Bowl was 1967. So, the Packers beat the Chiefs. It was Packers-Chiefs. Packers beat the Chiefs in Super Bowl one. Super Bowl two was Packers and the Raiders. Packers won the Super Bowl. Super Bowl three was the New York Jets and Baltimore Colts. Jets won the Super Bowl. Super Bowl four was the Chiefs and Minnesota Vikings. The Chiefs won that matchup. Then Super Bowl five was Baltimore Colts take on the Dallas Cowboys. Is it Baltimore Colts? Not sure about that. Excuse me. Then Super Bowl 6 was the Cowboys and the Dolphins. Cowboys won that matchup. Super Bowl 7 was the Dolphins and Washington. Miami won that matchup. And then Super Bowl 8 was Dolphins and the Vikings. Dolphins won that one. Super Bowl 9, Steelers and the Vikings. Steelers won that one. Super Bowl 10, Steelers and Cowboys. Steelers won that one. Super Bowl 11, Raiders and Vikings. Raiders won that one. Super Bowl 12, Cowboys and Broncos. Cowboys won that one. Super Bowl 13, Steelers and Cowboys. Steelers won that one. Super Bowl 14 was Steelers Rams. Steelers won. Then Super Bowl 15 was the Raiders and the Eagles. Raiders won that one. Then Super Bowl 16 was the 49ers and the Bengals. 49ers won. Super Bowl 17 was Washington and Miami. Washington won that one. Super Bowl 18, Raiders and Washington. Raiders won that one. Super Bowl 19, 49ers and the Dolphins. 49ers won that one. Super Bowl 20, Chicago Bears and the New England Patriots. Bears won. Super Bowl 21, the Giants and Broncos. Giants won a Super Bowl. Super Bowl 22, Washington, Denver. Washington won that one. Super Bowl 23, 49ers and Bengals again. 49ers won that one. Super Bowl 24, 49ers and Broncos. Or is it? Yeah, 49ers won Super Bowl 24. Super Bowl 25, Giants and Bills. Giants won that one. Super Bowl 26, Washington, Buffalo. Washington won that one. Super Bowl 27, Dallas and Buffalo. Dallas won that one. Super Bowl 28, Dallas and Buffalo. Dallas won again. Super Bowl 29, 49ers and the Chargers. 49ers won that one. Super Bowl 30, Cowboys and the Steelers. Cowboys won that one. Super Bowl 31, Packers and the Patriots. Packers beat the Patriots. Super Bowl 32, Broncos and Packers. Broncos won that one. Super Bowl 32, Broncos and Falcons. Broncos won that one. Super Bowl 33, the St. Louis Rams and the Tennessee Titans. St. Louis won that one. Super Bowl 34, the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Giants. Ravens beat the Giants. Super Bowl 35, Patriots and Rams. Patriots beat the Rams. In Super Bowl 35. Actually, Patriots beat St. Louis in Super Bowl 36. And Super Bowl 37 was the Raiders and Buccaneers. Buccaneers beat the Raiders. In Super Bowl 36 or 37, something like that. I believe it was Super Bowl, I think it was Super Bowl 36 or 37. Super Bowl 38 was Patriots and Panthers. Patriots beat the Panthers. Then Super Bowl 39 was Patriots and Eagles. Patriots won that one. Then Super Bowl 40 was Pittsburgh and Seattle. Pittsburgh won that one. Then Super Bowl 41, Indianapolis and Chicago. Colts won that one. Super Bowl 42, Giants and Patriots. Giants beat the Patriots. Super Bowl 43, Steelers and Cardinals. Steelers won that one. Super Bowl 44. Saints and the Colts. Saints won that one. Super Bowl 45. Packers and the Steelers. Packers won that one. Super Bowl 46. Giants and Patriots. Giants won that one. Super Bowl 47. The Ravens and the 49ers. Ravens won that one. Super Bowl 48. The Seahawks and the Broncos. Seahawks won that one. Then Super Bowl 49. Patriots and the Seahawks. Patriots won that one. Super Bowl 50. Broncos and the Panthers. Broncos won that one. Super Bowl 51. Patriots and Falcons. Patriots won that one. Super Bowl 52. Eagles and the Patriots. Eagles won the Super Bowl. That was the one. That was the first one. Super Bowl 53. Patriots and the Rams. Patriots beat the Rams. Super Bowl 54. Chiefs 49ers. Chiefs beat the 49ers. Super Bowl 55. Buccaneers Chiefs. Buccaneers beat the Chiefs. Super Bowl 56. Rams and Bengals. Rams beat the Bengals in Super Bowl 56. Super Bowl 57 was the Chiefs and the Eagles. Chiefs beat the Eagles in Super Bowl 57. Super Bowl 58, Chiefs and 49ers. Chiefs beat the 49ers. Super Bowl 59, Eagles and Chiefs. Eagles beat the Chiefs. That's the first 59 Super Bowl matchups. So, New England, Pittsburgh have been more Super Bowl appearances than anybody in the NFL. So, who are my top 5 best Super Bowl matchups over the last 50, on the first 59 Super Bowls? So I'm going to pick from 5 to 1. How's that? Number 5, I'm going to go Super Bowl 42. The Giants and the Patriots. The Patriots' undefeated season was on the line. And then I like the David Tyree catch that led to the Giants win. The David Tyree catch could be the greatest catch in Super Bowl history. That led to a Super Bowl win for New York Giants. The Patriots have their chance. The offense struggled. Tom Brady struggled. Number 4, I'm going to go with Super Bowl 58. The Chiefs and the 49ers. It was an epic finish in overtime. Patrick Mahomes, never say never. We talk about every one-score game matters the most. But you're certificating in wins. You're certificating in wins, but it was definitely a pretty good matchup to say the least. Number 3, Super Bowl 47, the Ravens and the 49ers. It was brother versus brother. Jim Harbaugh versus John Harbaugh. John for the Ravens, Jim with the 49ers. Jim was his second season as a 49ers head coach. I believe John Harbaugh was his 5th season as the Ravens head coach. And one of the Harbaughs looking for their first titles. But the first title goes to John. Ray Lewis played his last ever game in the NFL. He walked out winning his second and final Super Bowl ring in his career. So Ray Lewis gets his wish. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion and a Hall of Famer. So that was a good sign for the Ravens fans, showing support and love. So my number 3 is the Ravens and the 49ers, Super Bowl 47. Who's number 2 out of the 59 Super Bowls? Okay, so Number 2, I'm going to go Super Bowl 52. Eagles and the Patriots. It was a Super Bowl shootout in Minneapolis. It was Nick Foles versus Tom Brady. Eagles were without Carson Wentz. He tore his ACL late in the season. But Nick Foles was a Super Bowl MVP. Nick Foles was a huge difference for the Philadelphia Eagles offense to let this team to the Super Bowl championship for the first time in team history. And that Philadelphia team is so special for them. The Philly special. So, number 2 is this one. Is the Eagles and the Patriots. Number 1, there are so many number 1s right now. Which one I like it the best? Should I go Seattle, New England? Should I go Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl 57? Or should I go Super Bowl 51, Patriots, Falcons? Which one's the best Super Bowl matchup that I saw? I like the Super Bowl 51 one. The Patriots and the Falcons. The Patriots were down 28-3, and they came back, beat the Falcons in overtime, 34-28. The greatest comeback in Super Bowl history is the New England Patriots. The Patriots came back from 28-3 down against Atlanta in Houston, and they came back and won in overtime, 34-28. This is one of the greatest comebacks in the sports in general. I'd like to see that in more Super Bowls. We'll talk more Super Bowls a little bit later about this. All right, so coming up, we spent the first 15 minutes of our JDB's morning cap. What's coming up? The Lakers battles the New York Knicks in the Garden. We'll talk about all that. And then the Raiders found their new head coach. Who would that be? Also, the Cardinals also found their new head coach. It looks like the head coaching cycle is just about complete. And also SGA, the Thunder, squares off the Nuggets in last year's semifinals. So we'll talk more about this right after the break. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. All right, so the Knicks squared off against the Lakers last night. The first career Sunday night basketball. The first game in Madison Square Garden. The Knicks. The Knicks have been rolling as of late. Hey, OG Anunoby and Josh Hart have combined 45 points. Anunoby had 25 points. Hart hit with 20. Jalen Brunson had 13 assists, but he did not shoot the ball particularly well. He went 4 for 15 for the field. However, the Knicks team ended up winning over the Lakers 112-100. And the Knicks improved to 31-18. The Lakers dipped to 29-19. They still remain the number 6 seed in the Western Conference. Knicks remains the number 2 seed in the East. But despite the fact the Knicks have the same record as the Celtics, 31-18, the Knicks edge is a tiebreaker based on better conference record. All right, so here's my question right now about the New York Knicks. The Knicks have won. So let's just say this about the New York Knicks. What's the winning streak look like? The last time they lost was against Dallas. And since that loss, they beat Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Sacramento, Toronto, Portland, and now they beat the Lakers. Knicks on a 6-game winning streak. And why are they on a 6-game winning streak? The defense has improved. The defense has turned it around over their last 6 games. Defensive rating during the 6-game winning streak, which is number 8 in the league. They have the 8th best defensive rating during the 6-game winning streak. So I think the defense is starting to turn the corner. Hopefully they get guys healthy. And Giannis might be on the way in New York. So Mike Brown has clearly pushed the right buttons. Before the streak got started, they need to push the right buttons. And during the 6-game winning streak, they have pushed the right buttons. They start to refuel. They start to repair. They start to repair this team. And I think the Knicks, but going forward, they need to maintain the top seeds in the one of the top seeds in the East if they want to maintain this way. If Knicks want to return back to Eastern Conference Finals, it's got to be Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns to be more productive. Other guys need to step up too, like Anunoby and Hart. They both have to step up during the playoffs. If that's going to be the case. Knicks got to the conference finals a year ago, but they almost got it done. They didn't get it done. They did not get it done last year. But I do know this. The Knicks will play the Celtics 2 more times, including this week. Knicks will travel to Boston, and winner will likely be the number 2 seed. Knicks and Celtics have evened up the season series 1 game apiece. Both teams have won at home. So that's always a good sign. That would be first in line here. So, as for the Knicks, how's the schedule going to compare? And a trade deadline is looming. Should Lakers get Giannis at the deadline? We'll have to find. I'm gonna say yes. Yes, but they have to find the sides. They have to agree with. So, if the Knicks do land Giannis Antetokounmpo, do they deserve to win a championship with this talented squad? Probably not. But I do know this. The Eastern Conference Finals it's about to be a nutshell. You got Boston, even though on Tatum, they still playing their best basketball. Toronto's been surprised this year. I mean, Toronto Raptors have been improved than they were the past few years. Cavaliers, the expectations were high. They just haven't lived up to hype. But they have played better lately. So, and then Detroit Pistons. The Pistons are clearly the most complete team in the East. They're clearly the most complete team in the East because they got Kate Cunningham. Their defense is playing very well. You got Bickerstaff as your head coach. This team can get to the conference finals, maybe get to the NBA finals. On the other side is the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers losing by 12. Lakers stayed the number 6 seed thanks to the Suns' loss yesterday to the Clippers. So if it wasn't for that, if the Suns had won that game last night, the Suns would have been the number 6 seed. The Suns will go to Portland tomorrow. Then Lakers will play Brooklyn. They got an easy game. But Brooklyn has competed at times. So it's going to be chaotic Western Conference by going forward. So as for the Lakers, how they lost this game last night, they weren't making shots. They were not making shots last night, and the offense seemed to be disappeared. Luka Doncic did have 30 points, but he did not shoot the ball great, just 10 for 23 from the field. LeBron James had 22 points. He wasn't aggressive as much. I mean, we talk about injuries and all that stuff. The Lakers are dealing with significant amount of injuries. The reason why they struggled at the line. Lakers went 12 for 19, which is 63% from the free throw line. Lakers aren't a good 3-point shooting team. Am I right? Lakers aren't a great 3-point shooting team. The Lakers aren't a great free throw shooting team. The trust is going to be an issue. Like I said, injuries and trust is going to be problematic. But you got to understand what you're learning from. As for the reason why the Lakers are the 6th seed, their defense has been disappointing to me. The defense has been disappointing. And no questions asked, the defense has been troublesome all year long. But anyway, if the Lakers have suffered their own silent treatment, then that's an issue. And the Lakers have been a top 10 offense throughout the season, and they've been bottom 5 defense throughout the season. When the Lakers make the top 6, who would have thought the Lakers make the top 6 and they've been top 5 or top 10 offense and bottom 5 defense? The defense has been bottom in the league for quite some time. They don't have any good bodies. They don't have physical bodies who can man up. You got to man up. It's a big problem if the Lakers do not have the big pieces that you're looking for. That one's going to hurt. That one's going to hurt them the most. When the playoffs come, they could get bounced out of the first round. When I'm looking for the Lakers' schedule, they got Brooklyn to wrap up this Grammy trip, and then they'll head back home against the Sixers, and then they'll play the Warriors, the Thunder, and then they got to play the Spurs. And then they'll wrap things up against the Mavericks before All-Star weekend. So this is absolutely challenging for the Los Angeles Lakers by going forward. Hopefully it would change that a little bit at the end of the process. All right, so what's coming up next in our JDB's morning cap? We'll talk about the Raiders have hired their next head coach. Cardinals also found a new head coach as well. And then SGA is ready to set the rematch to face the Nuggets from last year's semifinals. We'll recap that from last night's game. And also, really bad news in Philadelphia for the 70s. It's not the Eagles, it's the 76ers. And also coming up, we have NBA All-Star reserves revealed from yesterday. NBA Showtime. We'll step away in about 5 minutes. All right, so we did have breaking news from yesterday. The Raiders are set to hire Klint Kubiak, the next Las Vegas Raiders head coach. So the Raiders finishing the season 3-14 in 2025-26 season with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. Pete Carroll was fired after one season, so that was back-to-back one-and-done seasons. So let's see how the Raiders can respond in 2026. So I'm going to ask this question. Klint Kubiak will introduce after the Super Bowl. So the question is how the Raiders have hired Klint Kubiak as their next Raiders head coach. Well, I know he's young. Klint Kubiak is the son of Gary Kubiak. Klint is 38 years old. Actually, he'll be 39 in 2 weeks. So, I mean, he is expecting more out of them guys. As who do you think who is Klint Kubiak? Yes, he is the son of Gary Kubiak. So I think Klint is the right fit for the Raiders' coaching job. Hopefully, the Raiders can turn this franchise around. And I'm not saying how many wins the Raiders are going to get in 2026. I'll save that for later, if it's possible. But if they do intend to draft Mendoza, then the Raiders will probably going to win about 5 games. 5 games will be 5 games at the max. So 4 to 5 wins for the Raiders. That's improvement from the year, possibly improvement from the years past, and then the next season they'll add some more guys, and then they could be a playoff team by 2027, 2028, if that's the case. By the time 2028, the Athletics are going to play in Las Vegas. The Athletics baseball team. The Athletics are now playing in West Sacramento the second year. So they've done some good things over there. The Raiders used to play at Oakland along with the A's. But now the Raiders, this is their 7th season. This is their 7th season in Las Vegas Raiders since they established. So, I mean, Klint is the right fit. Now the biggest goal is draft Fernando Mendoza, the number 1 pick. Raiders have the number 1 pick of this 2026 draft. So, this could get interesting in the next 2 months. The Raiders will add some offensive guys and defensive guys as well. So right now, losing Patrick Graham is understandable. well, so now what Raiders want, Raiders will try to need an offensive coordinator. That's exactly what they want. And then they need a young defensive coordinator. So they need some young coaches, some veteran ones, but they need young coaches. They need someone else to step up. But like I said, the Raiders got what they expected. They need help on the other end. The Raiders have won just 7 games over the last 2 years. So I think the Raiders will be a little bit better next year. They're probably, like I said, they're probably going to win about 5 games. They're still going to be a last place AFC West team, of course, but improvement. The expectations for the Raiders next year is still going to be low. So I think they're still talented, but I think the expectation is still low for the Raiders. Honestly, despite the fact the Raiders had so many guys who knows it. Raiders coaches since John Gruden left. John Gruden's been 2 stints for the Raiders. It was Bill Callahan, 2002-2003. North Turner, 2004-2005. Art Shell, 2006. Lane Kiffin, 2007-2008. Tom Cable, 2008 through 2010. Hugh Jackson, 2011. Dennis Allen, 2012-2014. The late Tony Sperano, 2014. Jack Del Rio, 2015-2017. John Gruden, 2018-2021. His second stint. Rich Bisaccia, interim head coach, 2021. Josh McDaniels, 2022-23. Antonio Pierce, 2023-2024. Pete Carroll, 2025. Those are the coaches since 2002. John Gruden has spent 2 stints as head coach. Art Shell has spent 2 stints as the coach. So there's a lot of fight in this one, and there's a lot of coaching turnovers in this one. How about Raiders quarterbacks since 2002? We had Rich Gannon, 2002 MVP. We had Marcus Tuiasosopo. We have Andrew Walter, Dante Culpepper. We had, who we also had? Kerry Collins. We had Jamarcus Russell. Bruce Gronkowski. Charlie Fry. Rick Meyer. Aaron Brooks. Josh McCown. Jamarcus Russell. Bruce Gronkowski. Jason Campbell, Kyler Boller, Carson Palmer, Terrell Pryor, Matt Flynn, Matt McGloin, Derek Carr, E.J. Manuel, Jared Stidham, Connor Cook, Brian Hoyer, Jimmy Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pickett, and Geno Smith. The consistency in the Raiders' quarterback position has been an issue over the years. Since Rich Gannon left, and even Derek Carr left too. Both Gannon and Carr have had at least 2 playoff appearances. Raiders only made the playoffs just twice since Rich Gannon left. That's not good. The Raiders have one of the worst records since 2002. The Raiders have one of the worst records in the NFL, along with Cleveland. Cleveland has the worst record in the NFL, including an 0-16 season in 2017. I mean, the Raiders, if it wasn't for its 3 wins, they could have been 0-17. The Raiders could have been 0-17 in 2025, but they won 3 games. Hell, they could have won 2 games, but they ended up winning 3 games. But they still get the number 1 pick because of those, based on low percentage points. They have the highest pick rate, the highest draft pick rate in the league. So they rely on heavy these guys. That's what the team is all about. All right, so that's enough. What's coming up next? The Cardinals also found a new head coach. We'll find out who that is. Also, SGA has set to play a rematch from last night's game from last year's semifinals against the Nuggets. And they also have breaking news in LA. It's about Sean McVay's contract coach. And then we'll hear from Paul George from this one, and then NBA All-Star Reserves. It's all coming up in 5 minutes. All right, welcome back. We have breaking news in the NFL. The Rams, both Sean McVay and Les Snead, both agreed to multi-year extension with the Los Angeles Rams. So that is a big news for both of these Rams. Here, so I'm going to ask a quick question. Hold on a second. Let's ask a quick question here. Should they be happy they both extended their multi-year contracts between McVay and Snead? Yes, they should be. I mean, they should be happy because Sean McVay deserves another opportunity to get back to the Super Bowl bound. And keeping Matthew Stafford is significant because now the Rams are talented enough to get back to the Super Bowl next year. And now Snead, all they got to do is add some more players this offseason. Rams with a 12-5 regular season finished second place in the NFC West. Got to the NFC Championship game this year, but unfortunately they got ran by the Seattle Seahawks in a close one. Now, let's see if the Rams could improve their close game execution. So Matthew Stafford, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua. I mean, who else? Kyron Williams. So hopefully the Rams are going to get back on track for next season. For Snead, I think he's done a hell of a job just put this thing together, adding some guys in off season, drafting consistent draft picks who could be this talented and be this good on this team. But I do like the fact that he believes that he can carry this to the Super Bowl. So the fan base has improved the most. All right, so let's move on from that. Speaking of head coach, we do have breaking news from yesterday in the NFL. The Arizona Cardinals have hired Mike Lafleur, the brother of Matt Lafleur of the Green Bay Packers. Mike Lafleur is now a Cardinal head coach. So expect to be 5 years for him. Mike finally gets his opportunity. And so the question is, it's about the quarterback situation. Kyler Murray could leave Arizona. So what's next for Kyler Murray after Mike LaFleur's hiring? Well, if Kyler Murray does stay in Arizona, maybe it depends on how difficult a relationship between LaFleur and Murray will look like. If Kyler Murray does leave, that's understandable because the Cardinals look like they're going to get a quarterback at the draft. So they would love to do that. They would love to draft a quarterback in the draft. They would love to do that. But Mike LaFleur is the guy who can step up into this office. But I'm saying that if the Cardinals, last year the Cardinals also went 3-14. Cardinals went 3-14 in 2025-26 season. Disappointing. But this team has clearly surrounded. They were dealing with so many injuries. They struggled in close games. So the area they need to work on is their depth chart, the depth chart of the quarterback. That's the area they need to improve. It's their depth chart, roster talent, especially in the quarterback position. So they finally got a new voice of the head coach, Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon effect did not work out in 3 years. Now Arizona is just they need something to go forward. But it could be an issue at times. And that's going to be the case. Arizona Cardinals have made the playoffs just one time since 2015. Or otherwise. The Cardinals have made the playoffs just twice since 2009. And in large part, it's been the quarterback situation. The quarterback play has been an issue over the years. Even they drafted Kyler Murray. He's been good. Sometimes he's been great. Sometimes he's been inconsistent. The consistency in the quarterback position is so important for your franchise. Mike LaFleur could be the problem solver this offseason. Drafting a quarterback in 2026 would be nice. It would be a good one. And now the Cardinals are going to face major questions this offseason and answers, especially the veteran quarterback, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is facing more questions and potential off-season challenges. He's facing in the last 3-4 years since he made the playoffs. But he's facing a lot of challenges in his young career. Remember, Kyler Murray in 2018, he was drafted by the Oakland Athletics, Major League Baseball. He played at the University of Oklahoma. He decided to forego for baseball to continue pursuing football dreams at Oklahoma. And he won a Heisman Trophy in 2018 and ended up being the number 1 pick of the NFL draft. Look like he's going to be the rising star in the NFL. Kyler Murray is going to be just like Patrick Mahomes. But career at times for Kyler has been slightly on crossroads. But they did carry this team to the postseason in 2021-22 season. Since then, it's been injuries, it's been inconsistent timing, but I think Mike will solve his own problem if they decided to keep Murray for one more year. If they decide to move on, then it's not a shocking one. So I think Mike Lafleur will try to get this football team inspired going to 2026. And he's going to face, Mike Lafleur will face his former assistant to Sean McVay twice next year, the Los Angeles Rams. That's why the NFC West division is so competitive. 3 NFC West teams have at least 12 wins. 49ers, Seahawks, and Rams have at least 12 wins. Seahawks have won 14 games. Niners and Rams have share amount of 12 wins. So the Cardinals only have 3 wins. That's not a surprise. The Arizona Cardinals are last place they're last place in the NFC West. They won just 18% of their games last year. So, and defense gave up 488 points. That's a problem. The defense gave up 488 points. So the defense average, Cardinals defense surrendered 29 points a game, which is bottom 5 in the league in points allowed. So that's not how this football team works. So I think Arizona expects to improve next year as well. So there's a lot of progress to go around to pursuit their low expectations. So that will be the next step from this opportunity. So I think Mike Lafleur, he will not face his brother unless Cardinals and Packers could square off in the playoffs. If these two squared off in the playoffs, that would be a cool moment. Otherwise, it's going to happen next year. If Matt keeps his job next year, that's his goal. All he got to do is win more games, and then to prevent playoff failures, he'll keep his job just enough. That will be that. So Mike Lafleur is now become the new Cardinals head coach. That will be significant. All right, so coming up, we'll talk Thunder and Nuggets from last night's game, rematch from last year's semifinals. SGA versus Jokic matchup, like I said, Thunder Nuggets. Also, we do have breaking news in Philadelphia. It's not the Eagles, it's the 76ers. It's about Paul George. And then last night they revealed the NBA All-Star reservers. So it should be more things coming up on this program of JDB's Morning Cap. So We'll talk all about this. We'll be back in about 3 to 5 minutes. We'll be right back, y'all. Welcome back here on JDB's Morning Cap. Thunder took on the Nuggets last night in Denver. Or Colorado. So it was a rematch from last year's Western Conference semifinals. Thunder Nuggets took 7 games, 7-game postseason series, but Thunder won in 7 games. So last night, the game did not disappoint. The Thunder, after a up and down month of January, they started the February really strong. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 34 points, but more importantly, Cason Wallace with 27 points. He had a huge night. He made 7 threes, and they end up winning over the Nuggets 121-111 is the final score. Who was impressive last night? It's Cason Wallace. I'm impressed with Cason Wallace's performances last night. 27 points. Cason Wallace had 27 points. In the regular season, he's averaged around 8 points a game. But last night, he was hooping. 27 points was his official career high. He knocked down 7 threes. That was also a career high. So I was impressed by Cason Wallace. But he's actually known for his defense. But I think Cason Wallace has solved his own problems last night, with Jalen Williams being out with an injury. But Cason has stepped up last night than it was. But SGA, he had 13 assists last night. That's what he does best. He had 13 assists, scored 34 points, 2 steals. He had a block shot. He did have 4 turnovers last night. But Chet Holmgren has 3 blocks last night, an all-star. Didn't shoot the ball great yesterday. But when you talk about the deciding factors, all the play matters. It's a giant difference right now for the Oklahoma City Thunder, just being physical. Thunder is a great physical basketball team. That's a champion. We talk about championship experience, championship physicality. In fact, it was a wire-to-wire game. Thunder never trailed the entire 60. Thunder had never trailed the entire 48-minute contest. Thunder finished 19 for 48 from downtown, which is 40% from long distance. They shot 47% from the field. Thunder shot 47% from the field yesterday. Nuggets shot well yesterday. Nuggets finished 49% from the field, 46% from long distance. Once again, they struggled at the line. They missed 7 free throws. They converted just 31% at the line yesterday. That's not good. So for the Thunder actually, Nuggets surrendered 17 turnovers as well. We'll get to that a little bit later. But like I said, the Thunder made a statement, went on the road against the Nuggets team, despite it's been an injury-prone year for the Nuggets. Jokic, this is his second game back. He's missed his last 16 games. He was this close to not qualify for his awards. So missed 16 games could not win the MVP. Jokic cannot win the MVP when he missed 16 games. I mean, that's going to hurt his chances. But we talked about that. The SGA is going to win the most valuable player again. That's why he's making winning plays in winning moments like this. Those are the stretches you have to make. Look at the Thunder stretch. Look at the schedule. They got Orlando tomorrow. They're back home. They're at San Antonio, second night of a back-to-back. And then they're going to play the Rockets at home. That's a good matchup once again. Then they're at the Lakers, at the Suns. That wraps up. And then they'll play the Bucks to end the first half. So, we're looking for the Thunder schedule. They still can get in. They still can get the number one seed in the West. You talk about the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. That's a pay or difference. All right, so for the Nuggets, how did the Nuggets do last night? They did lose by 10 points. Peyton Watson had a good night. He had 29 points and 5 made three-pointers. He was the best player. Jamal Murray, an all-star, struggled last night. 4 for 16 from the field. Jokic wasn't aggressive this much. He only went 6 for 9 from the field, 16 points. He did have 8 assists and 7 rebounds. He also had 6 turnovers. He had 6 turnovers yesterday. So, Jokic was careless with the ball last night. And I think that, but Denver is still in the mix for the championship, despite the fact that they're going through a lot of injuries. But they're going to add more guys at the deadline. What the Nuggets' biggest need at the deadline? Nuggets will have to make a move. I think Nuggets are clearly buyers at the deadline. They need to add somebody. So, with Aaron Gordon being out, so even they get some guys back, so they should put Peyton Watson as a starter for the rest of the year. I'm really impressed with him. They should put Peyton Watson as a starter. If Gordon doesn't come back, they will put Gordon off the bench. We gotta put Gordon off the bench to ensure his minutes is lifted. Aaron Gordon's minutes will be lifted because of that. And Watson's minutes will be increased by the time Gordon comes back. And then they add some guys at the deadline. The minutes will be in favor of Watson because of his energetic Peyton Watson's minutes has been more energetic than Aaron Gordon. And he's been surprised so far since he inserted to be a starter. I mean, that is not an easy thing to do. But Nuggets remain the number 3 seed in the Western Conference. If they stay that way by the end of the year, I'm not sure how far they're going to go in the playoffs. They still got Jokic and Murray, or duels, but I don't think the Nuggets are going to go this far. They have injuries. Some people don't trust the Nuggets because of injuries. They could be a second round exit. they still could be a second round exit because of this. They still could be a second round exit. That's a struggle, son. It's a problem now. There's a lot of teams in the West who could suffer their own fates for many, many years. So that is going to turn out really bad for them. That's not going to be the case anymore. As for Denver Nuggets, like I said, losing by 10 points last night was a tough one. 17 turnovers for the Nuggets last night. I think they still got the next time. Like I said, Thunder and Nuggets are going to play 4 times over the next 2 months. So the next time they face each other, the Thunder and the Nuggets, the game will be in Oklahoma City on February 27th. It'll be Nuggets at Thunder on February 27th. And then Nuggets at Thunder again on March 9th. And then Thunder at Nuggets on April 10th. Second to last game of the regular season. So this could be the Western Conference Finals preview option 2. Option 1 is Thunder and the Spurs. So the matchups, so which matchup may make sense the most? That's crucial. That is a crucial moment in time in this one. You're going to yourself an opportunity right now. All right, so coming up, we do have breaking news in Philadelphia. It's about the NBA, 76ers. It's about Paul George. And then we'll talk about NBA All-Star reserves have revealed yesterday in New York, who will be your Eastern and Western Conference official All-Star reservers. And then we'll wrap things up, who and what's coming up in tomorrow's episode. This is episode number 20. We'll step away in 5 minutes. All right, so we have breaking news in the NBA. It was 2 days ago. The Philadelphia 76ers, Paul George, according to NBA insider Shams Charania, the Sixers have decided to suspend Paul George for 25 games due to a drug policy violation. It's due to anti-drugs. So, which means the best way he could return is end of month of March. The target return is by end of March. So the suspension began a couple of days, 2 days ago. Against the New Orleans Pelicans. So the best time to return is March 25th. That's the next time when Paul George plays a game. So I'm going to ask the question really quick. How big of a blow is Paul George's suspension? This is a big blow for Philadelphia 76ers. Paul George is going to miss 25 games due to a drug violation. This is selfish. This is absolutely selfish. This is embarrassing to the league. The last thing that the league does not want to do is violate these drugs. It's really bad. I mean, this is a big blow for Philadelphia. And how big of a stretch is Philadelphia could be? They still got some guys. They still got Embiid and Maxey. And now they're going to head to they're on a West Coast trip right now. They got to play the Clippers. Then head to the Warriors, and then head back down south against the Lakers. They're at Phoenix, and then they're at Portland, and then they'll play the Knicks on the 11th of February in Philadelphia to wrap up the first half of their schedule. So stretches like that, it's gonna be crucial by going forward. So it's going to be crucial by going from 27 to 21 through 48 games. So Sixers has 34 games left remaining of their schedule. So if they impacted by injuries and suspensions, it is a huge blow for them. For Philadelphia, they're sitting the 6th spot in the East, and they'll have to face the Celtics in the first round. But the Sixers have won a couple of games against them this season. Like I said, it's a huge blow for Philadelphia, missing Paul George 25 games due to a suspension, and that's the problem. When you don't see the cohesiveness is still there. Once the playoffs come, the cohesiveness is going to stop. There's still going to be a first round exit. Do you think they're still going to play hard despite the fact? Yeah, they're still going to play hard. But playing Clippers tonight, it's really, it's going to be hard now. It's going to be really hard right now to surrendering it. But this is bad for the NBA. This is a situation you hated it the most. So it's tough to differentiate themselves and to see how they can do that, but it seemed to be impossible. It is impossible. You have to control your own problems. Now Philadelphia. Now what's next for the Philadelphia 76ers? Do you think the Sixers have forced the issue all these years? They have not. They have not forced the issue. Now, this is the problem when Philadelphia 76ers they're going to go through the same issues. That's in the past. Let's take a look. Paul George had a great game the other game before he got suspended. This is really sad. It's sad. It's frustrating. I mean, disappointing. You hate to see this. You hate to go through the situation like this. You hate to go through that. It is a really, really tough situation for Philadelphia and Paul George. And now they got to change their fortunes. if they choose this way. All right, so what's coming up? We're going to talk about NBA All-Star reserves, and then we'll wrap things up. We're going to step away in about 5 minutes. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at the reserves, but first, who are the starters? The Eastern has Giannis Antetokounmpo. There's a potential replacement, possibly Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham, and Tyrese Maxey. That's the starters for the East. For the West, starters has Curry, Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama. Here are the East All-Star reserves. Scotty Barnes from the Toronto Raptors, Jalen Duren from Detroit Pistons, Jalen Johnson from Atlanta Hawks, Donovan Mitchell from the Cleveland Cavaliers, Norman Powell from the Miami Heat, Pascal Siakam from the Indiana Pacers, Karl Anthony Towns from the New York Knicks. That is the Eastern Conference reserves. Here are the Western Conference reserves. Denny Avdia from the Portland Trailblazers, Devin Booker from the Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant from the Houston Rockets, Anthony Edwards from the Minnesota Timberwolves, Chet Holmgren from the Oklahoma City Thunder, LeBron James from the Los Angeles Lakers, and finally, Jamal Murray from the Denver Nuggets. So first-time All-Stars, Murray, Holmgren, and Avdia are first-time All-Stars of the West. Eastern has Durant, Johnson, Powell. There's a notable first-time All-Star ours here. All right, so the question is, who was the biggest snub in the Eastern Conference All-Star? So, who are my biggest snubs of the East that he could have got it, the player who would have got in? Who got snubbed? For the Eastern Conference, I'm going to say OG Anunoby got snubbed for the Eastern Conference. And then Derek White for the Boston Celtics also got snubbed, in the biggest snub in the Eastern Conference. The biggest snub in the Western Conference is Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Dylan Brooks, I think they were the biggest snubs in the NBA All-Star. Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks was the biggest snub in the NBA All-Star. That's a little bit surprised. That's shocking to me. But it is more than problematic because the NBA, let's talk about the Clippers. Why Kawhi Leonard and James Harden were snubbed and NBA All-Star starters. And Alfred Sengun is snubbing as well. This is disappointing for the Clippers fans. Why Kawhi Leonard and James Harden are not getting in? It's just because they started the season 6-21. That was the reason why. How how did it not get in? These two got in the All-Star. That's a disappointing look. That is a...
Hey, Josh.
All right, sorry about that. We talk about the snub of the NBA All-Star. I'm going to talk about that in a couple more minutes. First of all, biggest snub. The biggest snub in the NBA All-Star, Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. Why he's not in the All-Star right now? It's disappointing. It's really disappointing. So hopefully they can make this thing right to do it like this. All right, let's wrap things up. All right, so what's coming up in JDB's morning cap? We'll preview the Patriots and Seahawks. Also, trade deadline is looming. NBA trade deadline is looming in the next couple of it's 3 days from now until the trade deadline. NFL awards is 3 days away. We'll talk about that tomorrow as well. This is exciting day of this talk show. We'll be in over 2 hours and stuff. So hopefully we talk some more on this. Should really happen about that. Today we talked about Paul George's 25-game suspension. We talked about NBA All-Star reserves who got in and who's left out. We talked about Mike Lafleur become the Cardinals head coach, Klint Kubiak become the Raiders head coach. We talked about Knicks beat the Lakers from last night's game. Thunder beat the Nuggets last night. We talked about the Super Bowl. Tomorrow we'll talk about the 59 Super Bowl MVPs. And then that's Tuesday. Wednesday, and the list goes on and on. Hopefully that's good. All right. That's all for now. That's all for today's show. This is JDB's Morning Cap. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good day.